anything for certain, Ned said gently. We've only found his car with evidence that something may have happened inside it. The window is broken, apparently from the impact. You're sure of that? I mean, could Jeff have broken it himself to escape? Okay, I could have been grasping at straws. It's possible, but see, Jeff could have swum out the opening. He's probably fine, wherever he is. I hope so. I really do. I purposely tuned out the doubt in his tone. I didn't bother to remind Ned that the two of them had been nearly arch-enemies for years, from the time that Jeff, too, had been a cop and they'd gotten into a fistfight. Jeff had supposedly won, although the unapologized for fiasco had ultimately cost him his job with the LAPD. In the ensuing years, they hadn't exactly become best friends. But I wanted to believe Ned. Maybe he did hope that Jeff was alive and thriving. Somewhere. So they could argue again, if nothing else. Trade barbs and insults and one-upsmanships. Now then, I attempted to sound all business as I leaned forward and rested my arms on my desk. How are the authorities up north conducting their search? Now that they have a vicinity to look for Jeff, it's time to call out whatever resources they have, right? That's what I understand they're doing. Search and rescue teams, including canines and... Oh, right, since you're a part-time pet sitter, I'll bet you trust dogs even more than people. Could be. So? I'll head up there tomorrow to talk to the guys in charge. I'll let you know how they're looking. But, Kendra, after all this time, the possibility that Jeff floated out that window and downstream rather than swimming out. The authorities in the area may be conducting a cadaver search. Then you have to convince them otherwise. No cadaver search unless the evidence is clear and convincing that there really is a cadaver instead of a living, breathing, injured human being, right? We'll see. Which, of course, meant no. Well, thanks for the update, Ned. I attempted to sound grateful and upbeat, but inside I was shredding apart. One thing I knew, though. Ned and I were likely to be in the same neighborhood up north tomorrow. I couldn't concentrate on that complaint I'd been reading at all now. And I had a client meeting on another matter to prepare for, starting in half an hour. So, after I hung up, I leaned back in the ergonomically ideal chair my boss board in Urich had gotten for me that was upholstered in the same brilliant blue as my visitors' chairs, and thumbed through that client's file. Until I realized I couldn't see a damned thing through the mist that covered my eyes. Nor could I still my heavy breathing that would, with even a small loss of control, turn into an onslaught of sobs. "Damn it, Jeff," I whispered, my eyes closed and my body a trembling mess as I curled into a small ball on my big chair. He'd been out of town on business when he disappeared. How had he gotten back to the LA area without letting me know? Why had he done such a thing? Had he done such a thing? I'd met Jeff during the most miserable time in my life, when my license to practice law had been temporarily toast. I'd lost my job and nearly everything else important in my life, except, thank heavens, my adored Cavalier King Charles Spaniel, Lexi. And my big, beautiful Hollywood Hills home, although I'd been forced to lease it out and move into the maid's quarters over the garage. I'd taken on pet sitting so Lexi and I could eat. Jeff had been my first pet sitting client. He and his adorable Akita, Odin. We'd been through a lot together. He'd advised me in the many murders I'd somehow wound up solving since becoming a murder magnate, despite my strong preferences to the contrary. He'd also become my lover. And now? Well, one person would know about Jeff's return to LA. I straightened, picked up the phone receiver again, and pressed in the numbers that had become extremely familiar over the last bunch of months. Hubbard Security, answered that very person I'd expected to hear, although I had to concentrate for a second to ensure I'd recognized her hoarse, quivery voice. She knew. "Althea, it's Kendra," I began, hating the huskiness in my own tone. I wanted to be strong for Jeff's ultimate computer geek and my good friend. Jeff had described her as middle-aged before I'd met her, which she was, in her 50s, and a mother of 5, and a grandma to...